happy Thanksgiving from all of us on Across the Fence. On our menu today, turkey, turkey, turkey. We'll also bring in a side that will have you saying, no really, they do grow in Vermont. And last but not least, Chef Marco has some ideas for what to do with any Thanksgiving leftovers. First, we bring you to a 4-H competition that Ben Willis was called to earlier this year, a youth turkey calling contest in Castleton. To talk turkey, here's Ben.
The clucks, yelps, and purrs of turkey callers filled the air at Cahoe Conservation Camp in Castleton as contestants eagerly awaited the start of the Bart Jacob Memorial Youth Turkey Calling Contest.
We're going to start out with Division 3, which are the 11 to 13-year-olds. This competition started in Paulet, Vermont by Bart Jacobs. He was a local turkey call maker, and he was really interested in making sure youth had the opportunity to get involved with turkey hunting and calling. And your locator call.
The event features a range of age groups, attracting both novice callers and more experienced veterans.
I first started turkey calling and doing turkey calling competitions actually right here through my 4-H's fundraiser that we do here. One thing led to another and just got more and more into it. Kept going. I think I've been going for 5 years now, going to nationals every year. And yeah, we're just still going.
I was eager for a chance to test my own skills, so I asked the defending champ to take me through his kit of turkey calls.
These are going to be your mouth calls. These are your pot calls. And then these are your box calls.
Can you show me how to use one of these? Can I try one out?
Yeah, absolutely. You can use that one while I use this.
All right, so what do you do?
Main points are these are actually designed to hold it here so you're not muffling the vibration up here. So I just hold it here, hold it flat, and all you really do is just move it across. Look at that. And if you want to cluck, you just kind of flick it.
Okay.
Yep.
Right, so there's different types of calls.
Yes, many different types of calls.
So this is what's this? That's nothing.
That's an attempt to a yelp.
Attempt at a yelp, and then you said that's
a cluck. Yep. There is like yelp, but then within yelp, there's plain yelp, excited yelp, assembly yelp, adult hen assembly yelp, and then there's purring, and there's cluck and purr, just a purr, fighting purr, and then you have cluck, or you can do cutting, which is like just excited. When the hen's real excited, she's kind of going crazy. Then you have a flat down cackle. There's tree calling, Jake yelp, Kiki run. There's quite a few of them.
Wow. It was clear I should leave this up to the professionals. As the competition began, I asked Judge Ken Jones what skills the judges would be looking for.
Well, we're listening for realism. Doesn't necessarily have to be technically perfect as long as there's realism in there. Most of these young guys get started with friction stuff, box calls, pot calls. Those are considered friction. Anything that uses friction to create the sound would be considered a friction call. This would be an air call. Back in the days of the Native Americans, they used the wing bone of the actual wild turkey to make a call, a suction type call. But I'll just do a little demonstration on this mouth call.
As Ken and his fellow judges listened from behind a screen, the young competitors were asked to demonstrate their proficiency in creating a series of sounds: yelps, clucks, purrs, and locator calls.
Number 3, and I hear your yelp. Hear your cluck. And your locator call. Today is just getting them to try it, getting them to make some noise on the call and see how easy it can be. And then, if they're interested, you know, take these skills that they're learning today out into the field and actually call a real turkey in.
Throughout the day, excitement was in the air as turkey callers of all ages demonstrated their skills. But as the day drew to a close, the judges tallied their scores and winners were announced.
And first place, Colby Butler.
For those interested in the art of turkey calling, but not hunting itself, Colby Butler explains that one does not need to be a turkey hunter to be a turkey caller.
I turkey hunt quite a bit. I actually have 2 Grand Slams in a single year. But as far as like turkey calling when turkey hunting, big difference than the competitive turkey calling. So we say there are turkey hunters and there are turkey callers. So some people at these competitions, they are just like, they only turkey call, and then you have turkey hunters who shoot a ton of turkeys, but like honestly don't sound very good on a turkey call. But they hunt and harvest plenty of turkeys.
If you are wondering whether the 4-H turkey call competition may reveal a new calling, Colby Butler has just one piece of advice.
I would say just go for it. It's all fun. It really is just all for good cause, and just a bunch of friends doing what they all like.
In Castleton, Vermont, at Edward F. Cahoe Conservation Camp, I'm Ben Willis with Across the Fence.
Great call, Ben, and a great story. From Castleton, we head up 22A to Orwell and pay a visit to Vermont's largest producer of turkeys, Thanksgiving or otherwise, Stonewood Farm. Keith Silva stopped by the farm a few weeks before Big Day to find out what it takes to be the state's largest turkey producer and processor.
At Stonewood Farm in Orwell, it's always time to talk turkey.
We have 37,000 turkeys on 800 acres. We have 7 barns for the turkeys. Basically, it's about 5,000 per barn. We have some Christmas turkeys to do, and then we'll have a few bigger turkeys for making our ground turkey and sausage. So probably by the second week of December, it'll all be gone.
Across the Fence first visited Stonewood Farm in 2011. There were only 27,000 turkeys here at that time, but even back then, Stone was glad when Thanksgiving arrived.
Getting everything slaughtered and get everything delivered and getting it delivered to where it needs to be and what they order and what they want and everything is, you know, it takes a lot of work to do that.
Stonewood Farm is Vermont's largest turkey farm. According to the Vermont Agency of Agriculture, Food and Markets, Vermont is home to more than a dozen turkey farms. There are 250 million farms nationwide that raise around 230 million turkeys. Before these birds end up on Thanksgiving tables, most have been raised here starting in July, and some as early as April.
And everything's based off of Thanksgiving. So we buy turkey based on when Thanksgiving's going to be and how many weeks, and then we have 2 different breeds. We have what they call a mini, so the hens will only get up to 13, 14 pounds. They basically stop growing after that. And then the toms of the minis, they'll get up to 20-some pounds. We grow them longer than a lot of, big commercial ones. We don't feed any added fat or anything. We just have a balanced diet for them, and they take longer to grow. They just walk around the barns and eat and drink.
By Halloween, Stonewood Farm becomes a turkey processing powerhouse.
We're slaughtering turkeys now, so that takes about 28 people up there to do that. And that's roughly a 12-hour day.
Stonewood Farm sells fresh, not frozen, Thanksgiving turkeys. Going cold turkey here depends on time and temperature.
It's 4 weeks. People are going to wonder, well, how do you keep a turkey good for 4 weeks? Our cooler's a lot colder than your refrigerator. So they don't freeze, but they're a lot colder. They're still soft. And that's the only way we can do it. We can't, do it a week before Thanksgiving or that day.
Thanksgiving is the literal and figurative cutoff date for Stone's business. And once the hay's in the barn, as the saying goes, Stone knows it won't be long before next year's turkeys start flocking to the farm.
I'm tired of turkeys after Thanksgiving. When Thanksgiving's over and they're all either sold or in the cooler, freezer, it's a nice feeling that you have a few months before we start getting poults again.
At Stonewood Farm, there's only one key to a successful Thanksgiving. I'll let you figure that one out on your own. In Orwell, I'm Keith Silva with Across the Fence.
Before we trot out our next story, I want to remind you that Across the Fence is on YouTube and Facebook. Find us by searching Across the Fence on either platform, and while you're there, don't forget to like and subscribe. We've talked turkey, and now it's time for a side dish. A few years back, Keith Silva found a farmer who grows a unique crop for Vermont, but it's actually native to New England and one of the few fruits native to North America. I'm talking, of course, about the cranberry, a staple of any Thanksgiving table, and the subject of our next story.
Bob Lesnikowski grows cranberries in Fletcher, Vermont, and that's no lie.
I didn't know you could grow cranberries in Vermont. I've been asked that a million times, and I can't even come up with a good lie.
Truth be told, cranberries are native to North America. Sessamuniash, the native word for cranberry, grew wild from the mountains of Georgia to Quebec's cold climes and as far west as Minnesota. It wasn't until the early 1800s that cranberries began to be cultivated in bogs, starting on Cape Cod. The Vermont Cranberry Company is a bit of a throwback to the early days of cranberry cultivation.
We're not a water harvest. Most cranberries are harvested using water as a medium to convey the fruit. Cranberries are how they float. You flood a bed, you knock them off the vine, you get them into a truck. Very easy, 100% of the fruit's harvested quite quickly. We are a dry pick operation, so we use a 1962 Darlington walk-behind cranberry picker for a couple reasons. One, water harvested fruit in our climate won't keep for fresh fruit, and we're a fresh fruit grower. Two, once you start a water harvest, you're committed. Once you start, you need to finish. That's the beauty of dry picking, is you can do a little bit at a time.
The cranberry is classified as a perennial shrub. The trailing vines form a thick mat that can take 3 to 7 years to bear fruit.
Our first harvest was, I believe, 1999. It was a small harvest. I think it was 300 or 400 pounds, believe it or not.
From a distance, it looks like Bob Lesnikowski is simply mowing the lawn.
It was in the first few years of the Vermont Cranberry Company that Across the Fence paid a visit.
You hear a lot about sustainable agriculture. People always just think of the sustainability from a low chemical input end of things. Small agriculture, most people consider sustainable agriculture, but if the enterprise isn't profitable, there's no way it can be sustainable. As far as what the ultimate, how much can be sold, it's a little hard to say. We run out of cranberries every year. I guess I'll be like every other farmer. We'll keep growing cranberries till we don't run out every year.
The walk-behind cranberry picker is still going strong. Along with fruit sales, Lesnikowski now sells juice. 2 decades on, the business remains a one-man operation.
It used to be our fresh fruit was 80% of our sales. Now it's split almost equally between fresh fruit and juice in either quarts or bulk to other beverage companies. We have approximately 3 acres now. We'll add a little bit more. It's what I can handle, pretty much as far as the growing end. It's a sole proprietorship in the true sense of the word. We have part-time packing help through the fall. It's a comfortable business to run on its own. We're looking into collaborating with a new winery, Calche Winery, to do a cranberry wine, a cranberry seltzer.
Lesnikowski received a Vermont Agency of Agriculture Working Lands grant to build a walk-in cooler. After a short stay in the cooler, the fruit is sorted and packed within 24 hours of delivery.
It's one more chance to get quality control on the fruit. And it goes through a sorter, and then it's all visually hand sorted. We like a really deeply colored berry. A sound cranberry will bounce maybe inch and a half.
The appetite in Vermont for local food, coupled with direct selling, continues to provide Lesnikoski with a sound business plan.
We made the choice to sort of ignore what the commodity market was doing, price it fairly, and market it locally. At that time, that was really the start of the local food movement, and we immediately got very good support from a lot of different customers, so we've been able to continue doing it.
We're making a cranberry honey demi-glace, and we're serving that with a seared duck breast.
Doug Payne is the head chef at Hotel Vermont in Burlington.
To us, it's really important to use fresh local ingredients whenever possible. The color is brighter, they're much firmer. You know, if you dropped it on the table, it would bounce almost as high as you dropped it. You know, they're nice and firm, they're not dented at all. You know, the ones you get in the grocery store around Christmas time or Thanksgiving, you know, they've been sitting there for weeks, and cranberries do last a long time, but, you know, fresh is obviously better.
For Payne and local foodies, Vermont cranberries aren't surprising, but expected.
Yeah, I think people are surprised sometimes to hear that cranberries can grow in Vermont because they think of, you know, coastal Massachusetts and, you know, these giant cranberry bogs that are flooded, and it's a different type of operation here. Bob's been doing it for a number of years now, and I think people have come to expect to see it in the local restaurants and grocery stores.
A lot of odds and ends up here.
When he reflects on the business he's built from these small tart berries, Lesnikoski thinks of home.
Cranberries are nostalgic. You know, you say cranberry to at least someone in New England, you think of the holidays. You think possibly that was the first dish that you made for the Thanksgiving table, because it's easy, it's cranberries and sugar. It has this connection of home and hearth, and I think as time goes on, I'm going more towards that versus trying to make cranberry a year-round crop, you know, concentrating more on the holiday aspect of it.
A perennial crop that returns every year for the holidays. The cranberry has found a home in Vermont. In Fletcher, I'm Keith Silva with Across the Fence.
Our last story today is from our resident foodie, Chef Marco, who has some suggestions for what to consider for the best part of Thanksgiving, the leftovers. Bon appetit.
Something that we all have at the end of Thanksgiving is a lot of leftover turkey. So what I want to show you is something to do with that leftover turkey to give it a new life and make a new recipe for your family that they're probably going to really enjoy, and it's probably going to go back, go into your regular recipe rotation. And I'm sure you've all had a Monte Cristo sandwich at a restaurant, and that is one of my favorite meals. And look how nicely brown and toasted those sandwiches are. They're super easy to put together, but the fact that they're easy doesn't take away any of the flavor. So let me tell you how to put them together. First, in a large bowl, you're gonna add 2 whisked large eggs, 1/4 cup milk, and half a teaspoon kosher salt. And you're gonna mix it until it's all well combined. Then you're gonna take 4 slices sandwich bread, and you're gonna spread a thin layer of mustard on each side of each slice of bread. And something that is crucial for this recipe to work is good bread. For this recipe to really come out great, you do want a bread that has more substance to it. So in this case, I chose to use some sourdough bread because, as you can see, it's relatively thick. It has sort of like substance to it. It doesn't fall apart that easily. And because of the way that we're going to be cooking it, that's what you really want. Then, to one of the bread slices, you're going to add a generous slice of ham, some of your leftover turkey, and Swiss cheese. And make sure to add at least 2 slices of cheese because all the ingredients together is what really makes this sandwich. Then you're going to take a non-stick skillet and you're going to place it over medium-low heat. You're going to add 2 tablespoons butter, and you're gonna warm it until it's melted. And then you're gonna take your sandwich and you're gonna dip it into the egg mixture on both sides. Place it on the skillet and hear it sizzle. And cook them until they're golden brown. Continue to cook until your sandwiches are golden brown and nicely toasted. And I know that that looks like it's a lot of butter, and it's because it is. If you don't want to use that much butter, just use non-stick cooking spray and cook your sandwiches. Before serving, you're gonna sprinkle them a little bit with powdered sugar. Monte Cristo sandwiches are usually served with strawberry or raspberry jam. In this case, I'm using some cranberry from our turkey dinner. It's a great way to give your turkey leftovers a new life and making them into a whole different recipe. I think that in itself is a recipe that you can make with your leftover turkey from Thanksgiving, or it's worth going to the store and getting some turkey from the deli any time of the year. And now it's time for dessert. And there's so many great desserts out there. So let's try something new to bring to the table. So that's how I came up with the idea to make these cranberry strawberry hand pies. And they're so easy to make, very few ingredients. And again, it's something that it falls right down with the theme of Thanksgiving with the cranberry. And it's also a creative way to use some of your leftovers if you have some leftover cranberry sauce. So let me tell you how to put this together. First, you're gonna take about 5 to 6 strawberries and you're gonna cut them into small pieces until you have about 1 heaping cup. Transfer them to a bowl and you're gonna add half a cup leftover cranberry sauce, half a teaspoon cornstarch, 1/4 teaspoon cinnamon, and 1/4 teaspoon ginger. Then you're gonna take 2 sheets puff pastry and you're gonna cut them into 4 pieces each. To each square, you're gonna add about 1 to 1.5 tablespoons cranberry mixture. Then, in a bowl, you're gonna add 1 egg and you're gonna beat it well. Then, using a brush, you're gonna brush all around each square of the puff pastry. Once you have brushed all of the squares, you're gonna close them into a triangle. Then you're gonna transfer your hand pies to a prepared baking sheet. Finally, you're gonna brush the top of your hand pies with a beaten egg and you're gonna sprinkle them with sugar. Then you're gonna bake them at 400 degrees for about 12 to 15 minutes until they're nicely browned. And that is it. When they come out looking great. Look at this. It's really nice. And you can see that the pastry itself is nice and flaky, which is what you really want. I can't wait to try it. And I really hope that you give this recipe and all of these recipes a try. So let me bring all of our recipes here together so you can see them. And of course, I'm also going to remind you to connect with Across the Fence on social media. So follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and most importantly, subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can get all the latest updates of Across the Fence on your phone or your computer. And then you can not only see the recipe show, but all the great content that Across the Fence brings to your home every day of the week.
That takes care of Across the Fence on this Thanksgiving. Our heartfelt thanks to everyone here at WCAX who makes us look and sound so good. And of course, we save the biggest thanks to you, our viewers, who are here Monday through Friday for our visits across the fence. Have a good one.